We started with John Locke's empiricist theory, and then watched as George Berkeley proceeded to slice off the physical world with Occam's razor. At this point, we have a totally mental universe, along with the self and God. Scottish thinker David Hume wants in on the empiricist action too, and he brings his razor. Hume agrees with the basics of empiricism. All knowledge comes from sense data. There are no innate ideas because humans are born as blank slates. And of course, he's wielding that dangerously sharp razor. Now, most of Western philosophy is based on the idea that we have a mental self that persists through time. The self may grow, mature, and alter, but the idea is that there is a solid core of self that is our identity. Hume trims the concept of self from the theory. According to Hume, what we think of as self is just one big ball of sense data. There's nothing stable there, no core of identity that persists through time. There is only sense data. He isn't done with the razor yet. Hume says there are two kinds of meaning. First, there are analytical propositions, relations of ideas. Let's use the example of a cube as we look at the traits of analytic propositions. First, negation of an analytic proposition leads to self-contradiction. A cube has 6 sides, congruent. If I told you I had a cube with only 3 sides, you would, of course, tell me that it wasn't a cube, because a cube with 3 sides isn't a cube. It contradicts the concept of a cube. Analytic propositions are a priori. You don't understand what a cube is by going on a cube hunting expedition in the streets. You understand a cube by contemplating the meaning of a cube. Analytic propositions are true by definition. The definition of a cube states that it has 6 sides. If something has fewer, or more sides, then it can't be a cube. Analytic propositions are necessarily true. The sentence, "A cube has 6 congruent sides," cannot be false. Next, analytic propositions are tautologies. They are redundant and repetitious. Saying "has 6 congruent sides" is a repetition of saying "a cube." Analytic propositions include definitions, math, and logic. They show how ideas relate to each other, but do not tell us anything about reality, according to Hume. The second type of meaning comes from synthetic propositions, which are matters of fact. They come from sense data. Anything besides these analytic or synthetic statements is nonsense for Hume, including the sentence, "God exists." So Hume has slashed again with the razor. For Hume, there is no self, there is no God. Instead of God, Hume believes cause and effect are the center, the basis of knowledge. But he admits he can't prove it, because the sense data for A causes B and A happens after B look pretty much the same. The center is slipping, and many people feel that Hume's views lead to skepticism. Skepticism is the idea that there is no knowledge, that knowledge is impossible, unattainable. Your textbook author sums up the competing theories of rationalism and empiricism by joking that the rationalists ignore Occam's razor and the empiricists trim off too much with it. Who is right? The rationalists? Which one? Plato? Descartes? What about the empiricists? Locke? Berkeley? Hume? They all make good points, but most people aren't willing to follow Hume all the way down the road of skepticism. Well, a group called the logical positivists did go down that road. You can read about the logical positivists towards the end of chapter 3 in your textbook. You should also read about how Immanuel Kant attempts to take the good ideas from both rationalism and empiricism and bring them together. Finally, check out the conclusion of chapter 3 to see what's going on in epistemology today, and see how at least one philosopher thinks knowledge works more like a spider web and less like the house Descartes tore down and rebuilt. Oh yeah. Next up, we get to take a peek at ontology in chapter 4. Chapter 4 is a real noodle baker. I'll see you again soon.